posted in Chandigarh. I was in the Air Force. So once I think he must have been what, 5-6 years old, 6-7 years.
Chandigarh.
I'd taken him to the sabzi market, and one huge bull. I told him you stay on the scooter, and I was buying the sabzi and keeping it on the scooter. So while the sabzi was there on the scooter and he was also there, one huge bull came and started eating the vegetables. And when I came back, Chotu was really scared. And after that, he's never gone to buy vegetables.
Actually, Abhay was an extraordinary child. He was really extraordinary, and I always used to feel, in fact, a lot of people around us also felt, he never did anything wrong.
Well, that's normal. You expected that he would get married at some point once he has settled down. Definitely. That he would get married and start a family. That is a normal expectation one has from sons.
Well, I didn't feel any pressure from them. I think it wasn't an expectation, it was just an assumption that everybody in India has, that, you know, at some point once you get a job, you'll get married, you'll have kids. And but it wasn't pressure from them at all.
Frankly speaking, if it might sound unbelievable, but I'm the type of person that I do not believe too much I do not dream too much about the future. Expectations and from others is something which is not something I believe in. But that Abhay was doing well and that he would continue to do well, there was no question mark about, you know, he charted out his own, he sort of decided his own what he was going to be, and he was very clear about it. So where his career was concerned, we were not worried. After he finished IIT and IIM, and then he got a job, there were you know, people who started sort of marriage proposals were there for him. And I did ask him, I remember asking him, and he would say, where's the hurry? You know, Abhi, where's it? Panic, where's the hurry? And so I would keep quiet because he has an elder brother, and he was not married by then. So it was, you know, jaldi to koi nahi hai, it's just that that auntie was asking, and so you tell her, okay, I'm not ready, you know, that way. So it was very natural.
Once I was in Pune, and there's a lot of relatives who live there, and one uncle, one poopa of mine, he was saying, I was about to leave in 2 days, and I think I was going back to Delhi or something, and he was saying, I have a friend who's got this beautiful daughter, and she's really nice, and, you know, even if you're not interested in getting married, why don't you just meet her? And I think that was the one time that there was he said it twice or thrice, and I said, Poopa, really just not, this is not a good time. I'm just not ready, it won't be any use. But most of the time, you know, if there was a proposal, they would talk to mom and dad would say, well, it's up to him. And I would say, I'm not ready.
So the question is, you are ready when you want to. He was not, he didn't want to. And we didn't want to pressurize, we don't believe. Unless, of course, you know, maybe 10 saal nikal jaye or something like that, then you want to know why. Why maybe. That's something different, but otherwise, he was not that old also, that, you know, we should put pressure on him.
The way I came out was, I had come across this book, Tales of the City, this book series. It's actually set in San Francisco, but I hadn't actually moved to San Francisco, I was still in India. And I was reading it, and in the second book in the series, there's a letter in which a character writes to his parents in Florida and comes out to them. And when I was reading that book and I read that letter, it just felt like it was saying all the things that I've been thinking of and all the things that I wanted to say to these people, to mom and dad. And so I brought the book home. I was on a business trip in South Africa. I came back, I brought the book home with me, and I left it. I told my father to read it because my mother has stopped reading fiction most of the time. My father reads it, so I gave it to him and I said, this is a very interesting book. You should read it. And and I went away, and I still didn't. I wanted him to read it and maybe come across the letter, think about it. I hadn't decided. I couldn't just come out and say I'm gay. So my father didn't read the book, and I didn't want to push him too many times because then he would start suspecting something. So I think almost 3-4 months went by and he hadn't read it. And things were just, I was at a point I had to come out. I had had enough of the closet. So I was also moving to San Francisco. My transfer had gotten approved. I wanted to come out before I left for San Francisco so that I at least had some time with them to help them get used to it. So I think there was maybe 2 weeks left for me to go to San Francisco. I was on another business trip in London, and I called up my mother and I said, I'm coming to Bhopal, in 3 days, and I really need you to read this book. And she says, I think she said, why? And I said, just read it. And I think I said, she'd been asking me to read some other books that she suggested, and I said, I'll read your book if you want me to, if you read this one.
Once in a while I felt some restlessness in him, which I felt could be, the stress of being in, these days stress of career and so much expectations from your own self. So I felt maybe that could be the reason for slight restlessness. So I told him that there's this book that I've read, The Power of Now, and I want you to read that book. So he said, Ma, there is a book by Papa's bedside table. You read that book, and after that, whichever book you want me to read, I will read it. So when he put it across that way, I don't know, my intuition sort of made me feel that there is something in that book which he wants me to know. I said, okay, kept the phone down, and I went up, our bedroom's upstairs, and it was already evening. My husband had come, we had tea and all. After dinner, I started reading the book. And frankly speaking, if you ask me anything of the book, I don't remember. Because I knew there is something in this book which I'm supposed to know. That was what my intuition was telling me.
So she actually spent all night reading it. And then she called me the next day. I was still in London. And she asked me, she said, are you trying to tell me something? I said, yeah. So she said, what is it? And I said, there's a letter in the book. And she said, yeah, I read that. And I thought that is what you wanted to tell me. And so she said, so are you saying you're gay? I said, yeah.
So I sort of, that fast reading till I came to that letter. And that letter is a letter from a boy to his mother. And in that he's written that I want to tell you that I'm gay, and I'm telling you this not to hurt you, but so that you're apart, you know exactly what I am, and I want to share, I want you, it is because I love you and I want you to be a part of my life, my world. And I know the first question in your mind would be that where did you people go wrong? But that's not the thing. The thing is, it's not your problem, it is the way I am, and that's the way I want to be. And you've taught, another line was, you've taught us to be truthful and not to lie, and that is what I am being now. And somehow I felt, as I don't know, Abhay is telling you, I felt this was Abhay telling me, talking to me.
And then I think the most wonderful thing was that she said, well, I've thought about it. I read it, I finished reading it, I've thought about it. And I don't think, given a choice, I want to change anything about you.
I read the book throughout. Even after reading the red letter, I read the whole book because I didn't know कि आगे कुछ हो ऐसा तो नहीं है. I finished the book, kept the book down. It was about 3 in the night. And after closing the book, I sat thinking. And really, I'm telling you, the first thought that came into my mind was just, Abhi agar, you know, that's what you feel. Some high power comes and asks me ki I can change your child, give you another one. Will you accept? I don't want to change Abhay.
So I still love you, and you know, nothing's changed, and that's fine. And so I said, well, what about Papa? She said, I'll talk to him.
When he had finished his lunch and all, so then I told him I want to tell you something. And then we were sitting together, and I opened the book at that page and I gave it to him. Then he read the...
Yeah. And I read that letter. That letter was very clear. It's a letter from, like she said earlier, from a son to his mother, coming out and stating that he is gay. And it was a very lovely letter, giving the various, the point of view of the son who had not come out, and the emotions that he had gone through while he was still in the closet, and how to come out and how to share his life fully with his parents.
So he read the letter and then he looked at me and then he said, so? I said, he said, so? I said, you read the letter? He said, yeah. I said, Abhay wants you to read it. You read it. So he says, so what? You're trying to say that Abhay is gay? I said, yes.
I usually prepare myself for the worst to happen. So I had assumed that, you know, they would read it and have a very bad negative reaction, you know, typical Hindi movie parent kind of reaction. Even though they've never been like that, but I had prepared myself for that, and I told them later that I have prepared myself that you won't talk to me for 10 years. And mentally, whether in reality if it had happened, I'm sure it would have been very tough. But so I said, you know, even if it takes you some time to accept this, that is fine, because the first reaction was already much better than what I feared.
My first thought was that all these years he must have gone through a lot of, you know, he's telling us today, but all these years he is facing the whole thing alone. You know, I wish he would have told us earlier, that we could have been a part of his world earlier. That's what I felt.
I mean, I said, I'm going to not lie anymore, at least to the people around me. And so, in one of the things I told my mother, I don't want to be one of those uncles, you know, who never got married and nobody knows why they didn't get married, and you know, somehow they didn't find anybody. Even if I don't find anyone, they should know that Abhay was gay and that's why he didn't get married. They shouldn't think, you know, for some strange reason he just never found anybody, and any nice girl. I found many nice girls.
I am a very positive person. When I pray for him, I always say that give him his heart's desire. And his partner, I can't look for, I mean, unless he gives me the authority. Even for my elder son, I told you, both of them, I told them, you look for your own partners. Only when my elder son said that I have not been able to find you, find for us, that's the time we looked for a girlfriend. So I'm very positive. I hope Abhay finds a partner, and it'll be great. It'll be really great.